Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're talking about a title thing that we came across that we got the opportunity to learn. What was it? A general lien that they had on the HOA, and then how to kind of use that and parlay that into over communication and the Don't Fire Me report with Tom Ferry. And we all have a little bit more time right now in these transactions to go deeper into the relationship with our customer and make sure we're communicating so there's zero gray area or shine a big bright light. So all things are understood throughout the transaction with our customers right now.
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely an interesting one that we are recently dealing with where there's an underlining lien on the underlining parcel of the entire condo complex,
right?
Because it's a lien against the HOA. And it's not even an actual mechanics lien at the moment. Well, it is, but what has happened is it's such a big project that this company puts a mechanics lien on it while they're doing the project, just in case, to make sure that if the HOA doesn't pay, they're going to get their money. So we're dealing with the fact that we're in a transaction right now where it's not necessarily against our seller, but it's against the HOA complex. And who makes up the HOA? The owners of the complex.
Right.
So technically it's on our owner we have to rectify that.
It's a cloud.
It's a cloud where we have to get that. So we've came up with some solutions because it's a little tricky of because we can't just get a demand because there's nothing owed at the moment, and we can't get a partial release of just our unit on that lien. So we got pretty creative and came up with some solutions.
Well, yeah, typically, what would we do? So there's a $7,500 lien from some mechanic.
$75,000.
No, let's just say in another scenario, let's say there's a $7,500 tax lien, mechanics lien, judgment, etc. What would normally be the steps to clear that off the title, to give clear title?
So typically, escrow orders the demand. We get the demand. We see how much is owed. Make sure it doesn't, affect all the proceeds. We're able to pay that through the closing of escrow. And then we get a release of lien or a reconveyance or some kind of release of the judgment where we record it to clear it off the chain.
And then voila, clear title, right? So in this case, it's different because every condo unit is impaired by this lien because it's a general lien on the whole complex, the whole property. And it's kind of like when you go to the hotel and you have to throw your credit card down in case you raid the minibar or go crazy at the little, cafe that they have. Like they're going to get theirs, right? Same thing. This guy said, our fence job is so big, we got to get 75 G's against the whole property in case you guys don't pay us.
Exactly. So it was kind of like a just in case thing. And we were running up against the fact that another title company did not show this, and they just closed about 2 weeks ago. Ooh. That's a big red flag for that buyer, because now that title company closed with that buyer issuing them free and clear title, where that buyer doesn't have free and clear title. They have this lien on them now, where if that does have to get paid and they have to split it between all of the units, granted $75,000 divided by, I think there's 211 units in this property.
Okay.
Wouldn't be the end all of everything. But now
what a nuisance, right? Because you get blindsided.
Yeah, well, that buyer should have fully been aware that lien was on there, because the agent's like, well, why didn't XYZ title company show this? And I pulled it up and I said, they definitely should have showed this. This is the first lien that I saw on the chain of title. So now that buyer definitely has this lien on them that they are not aware of. So they don't have free and clear title. That wasn't passed through. So that's a big deal. That's something,
Well, bad news sucks. Yeah. Bad news is a surprise is really sucks.
Well, and so, we can't just switch to a different company because this is going to show up. It's on the APN. So we've came up with some solutions on how to get that cleared.
Okay, what's the better one, you think?
I think best is probably having the lender approve it to show on the prelim, because if the lender approves it to show on the prelim or on the final title policy for the buyer, they are aware that it's on there. So now the person that would be on the hook would be the buyer if something were to get paid. But after we spoke with the HOA, we spoke with the president of the company. We were pretty on the assurance that there's not going to be any money paid. The HOA
they've been current. They've been paying as it goes.
The HOA showed all their current bills that they've been paying everything.
It doesn't seem like a looming threat.
No, it doesn't really seem like there's a lot of risk or liability there. So I would think if I was that incoming buyer and I really wanted that property, that would probably be a risk that I would just take on and saying, look, if this were to needed to be paid divided by 211 units, the $75,000 lien is going to get negotiated down probably to like
33
50,
and change,
you know.
or something.
So that's not that big of a risk that I would take on. So as that buyer, I would try to work with my lender on approving that to show on the final title policy. That way I'm aware of it, where if anything happens, I know I just have to pay the $2,000 or $1,500 or whatever.
Yeah, and I think the underwriter at the lender, you know, financing the deal is probably going to be okay with that. We'll see. That's one of the pathways to close, but there is another pathway to close where we indemnify the seller. And basically, what are they saying when they sign the indemnity? That
they're on the hook for that. That they're stating that they know, that they're aware where if there is any money owed, that they will pay it and that there won't be any kind of issues or lawsuits or anything like that.
Yeah.
So there is that as well. But the thing is, if it gets negotiated down, the price could be less. So we even thought about, you know, when we were talking about, well, let's pay it up front, we were like, well, there's really no reason for the seller to pay it, because if anything did get owed, that would be way negotiated down. So if the seller paid $2,000 now, but say it got negotiated down to $1,100, the seller like paid $900 extra, where all the other people are going to be paying way less.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting situation.
It's like a snapshot payment. But really the situation is more like a video, because it's going to change, right? Yeah. Even if they say they only didn't pay him 40 grand. So then that 75 automatically comes down to 40. That lien change, which means their individual, what they were on the hook for, would have changed. So they would have paid like for a permanent situation, for a fluid, really a permanent solution for a fluid situation. But that's a small win, finding those, you know, finding the solutions.
And I think that's one of the best things about, you know, just kind of tooting our own horn when you work with us is we don't hide in these situations. We are the first ones to get on the phone. We are the first ones to figure it out. We go to battle with our underwriting at times, because our clients, we have to fight on behalf of our clients. So we know that when things are hitting the fan, because not every file is vanilla. Not every file
especially
is easy
market.
done.
Oh my
you know,
goodness.
especially right now. So we jump to the plate. Like, we are there and we are in it with our clients, and we go to battle with them. You know, we just had another great meeting with one of our other clients, and he was saying his buyer had to put a claim on with another title company, and he said the rep is just gone. He's tried to call him. And he was like, I get it. I'm not his client, but like, that's kind of the opportunity to help me out here. You know, now he's pushing me down. He's kicking the can up to the management, and then management kicked the can up to 5.
But it can't be found all of a sudden.
And all of a sudden,
what about all those years you hit me up for your business, and then I need you, right? It's like, you don't need title all the time, but when you need it, you kind of need it now.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that on our team is we don't hide under our desk. We don't avoid. It's like, and we tell people, and I've heard Haley say it, I say it myself for my whole career. It's like, look, this is why you use me. Is I'm going to show up when the shit's hitting the fan. When the bullets are flying. When we have a potential claim, because that's when you need me most, right? It's like, let's walk through the process together. It's not fun to take it on the chin if we screwed up, and it happens, right? It's not fun to try and stare down a $75,000 HOA lien that is really rare and get through to the underwriter and say, no, we aren't just going to ask them for the money. There's got to be another solution, and give pushback and argue and yell at your underwriting team at times, right? But that we advocate on behalf of our customer who trusts us to land the plane on these deals and not have and seller can leave this transaction knowing that they can sleep easy at night, that nothing's going to come back to bite them, and the buyer sleeps easy at night knowing that nothing from the seller is going to come and knock on their door in 30 days.
That's
you know?
That's why they use us.
That's what you're paying us for. So if I just disappear when the shit hits the fan and we get into some tough sledding, that is like the reverse of how it should be.
No, and there's always going to be something. We talk about this all the time. It's like, we're going into the next fire, we're coming out of it, we just put out one. Like, there's always going to be something, and that's where we really shine when we step up. And it's like you said, this is why you use us, is because we make sure we see this all the way through with you. We're not just like, hey, we pushed it up to management. We don't.
Yeah, good luck with them.
We don't know what we can do.
Well, and the claims department's so easy to deal with, so easy to get a hold of, right?
Just like any insurance claims company, right?
Oh, they're trying to get rid of you. They're trying to get you exhausted, so you just give up the fight. And no, not for our clients.
Yeah.
So that's what we step up and we advocate on your behalf. And we're here in the great times when we're making it rain and deals are falling from the sky. We're here when there's an issue. Yeah. And we're even more present. And that goes into what Tom Ferry talks about is communication, availability. Sometimes the best ability is availability. So tell us about that.
So that leads us perfectly in because we over communicate a lot with our clients.
Yeah.
So that leads us into sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry. But that leads me into something we've heard recently where I thought it was a genius idea because market times are sitting a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. Clients, sellers are getting a little panicked of why is my property sitting on 30 days and we've only had one offer and it wasn't what we wanted and all these things. And so we're doing a lot of education with our clients, our sellers, on how to bridge that gap of having them not hate you throughout the transaction, right? Because it's all good when they hire you. They're like, you're going to be my person.
I'm going to work for you.
You're going to get this for me sold. And then the market time comes and now they're looking at you like, you said you were going to do all this for me and why is my house not sold?
It's been a month, then it's been 2 months.
It's been 2, and so they're looking at you now, and now there's that moment of where they're talking shit, they're pissed, they're like, my agent sucks, da 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 da. So how can we combat that? Yeah. I heard this amazing thing that Tom Ferry has, one of his clients came up with, and it's the Don't Fire Me report. Ooh. You obviously don't say it that to your clients of like, hey, I'm giving you
don't fire me.
I'm giving you my Don't Fire Me report. Here you go. But really what the Don't Fire Me report consists of is every weekly thing that you are doing that week to get your client's property in front of people. So you show them the different views on Zillow, the different views on Redfin, on homes.com. You show them the marketing ad that you've ran through on Instagram.
The caravans you went to.
The caravans you went to. How many calls you made to other agents in that area that
loan
have buyers.
Credit
How many
unions.
calls you made to loan officers that may have buyers for your property. How many consumers directly have you called to let them know about your home?
Even a report like from Sly Broadcast, I voicemail blasted my whole sphere of influence because I get buyer referrals from my past clients. So I told them about your listing, and look, I sent out 300 and 120 listened, and I called back these 4 because they had somebody. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a great report.
Yeah, so imagine weekly. Now when you're over communicating with your sellers of, look, the market's changed a little bit. This is where we're at. This is what the data is showing us. Year over year comparison, market time is up. So here's what I'm going to do to make sure I'm doing my job to get your property sold.
So proactive. It's so good.
So proactive. And you're showing them, hey, this is what I'm doing every single week. So every Friday, you could have a call with your seller or send them an update of, hey, this is what I've done this week to get your property in front of more
You know what
eyeballs.
I love about it is I'm putting my narrative into your head, because left to your own devices as the seller and you're conjuring up your own thoughts of what I'm not doing. Can that get negative real quick? Or...
Exactly.
But if I'm saying, hey, here's what I'm doing, here's concrete examples, here's results
the
I've had
that I've gotten.
Yeah.
Here's what I've heard.
I did some market research, maybe on ChatGPT, about where the segments of the population would provide buyers for this property. And then here's how I got your property in front of those segments of the population that are most likely to provide a buyer. I'm huffing it, man. I'm hoofing it, and I'm working hard to get the maximum exposure possible.
Right.
I mean, that's a solid way to report to your seller.
And I think it's really good at a report also to show, because we understand right now there's a lot of sellers that still think they're going to get 2020 prices on their home, and they're really pricing it. And right now it's all about price strategy. And I think when you have sellers that want to price it on the moon, and innately, like, we're not going to get this, but sometimes we have to listen to our sellers, and we kind of have to just let it go and communicate, hey, based off what we're seeing, this is what the market's showing us. But if you're hiring me because you want this done, we'll put it on. But now we have to educate our sellers. So like we just had this instance one with one of our clients. Her sellers were dragging their heels in, and she knew. She was like, we're going to have to price reduce. Like, this is listed too high. And she knew it. So what we did is we did some research, ChatGPT, and we said put market times and stats of market from May 2024 to May 2025 over comparison. And everything showed on that comparison, on that chart that ChatGPT made, it showed them exactly that they were overpriced. And it said a little blurb in there, the average price right now in Alpine that's selling is this. And so now she can take that data with her report of her Don't Fire Me report of everything that she's been doing and go to her seller and say, look, I think your home is worth this much. I would definitely see this as value. But based off where the market is now and what we're seeing based off the data that is showing us.
Blame the data.
And the feedback I'm getting from the market, we're slightly overpriced.
Yeah.
And we have
Or
to
we're
adjust.
majorly overpriced. Like,
And we have to
or we're
adjust.
majorly overpriced. Like,
And we have to
there's the
adjust.
current, like where the
Yes.
river's flowing, then there's the, like, you're on the little sandy bar, and then they're way in the forest. Like,
'cause-
we're in the forest.
Yeah, because her sellers were getting mad because she was saying we got a price, and they were like, "No, we're not doing it." And I was like, "We have to have the conversation."
Well, it's hard
and
when you do
communicate.
that kind of research, which is so much easier these days. Thank you, AI. Right? It's task over trust. Right? Don't give up the trust relationship developing things, but you can give up the task to AI because it's smarter than us anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
every printed word ever is in ChatGPT.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Just side note, randomly, I saw a bunch of people were at like the Dirk Bentley, and I was like pissed because I was like, wait, I had no idea Dirk Bentley was playing. Like, I would have definitely been there and
Was he
Zach
here
talked.
local, or?
Like, yeah, I was like, I had no idea. So I went in ChatGPT and I copied and pasted all of like North Island Credit Union, Del Mar Fairgrounds, who's playing summer concerts like on Vivid, and I copied and pasted all the links and I put it in chat and I said, create me a PDF of all of the concerts in San Diego over the summertime, and it every by venue, by date, by time, and now I'm not going to be able to miss any of my shows because I love live music.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my gosh, I can see everything who's playing now and when.
That's awesome.
And so that was just random side note of ChatGPT.
Use it,
That
get
last
to know
night.
it. Look, the people who use it are going to be exceeding the ones that don't. It's not taking over. The robots aren't taking over yet.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But she was able to use it in her benefit to demonstrate to her sellers that, hey, the market's changed. So we have to
Exactly.
meet it where the market's at.
Yeah.
And then she was able to really do the don't fire me report because her sellers are looking at her like,
Well,
what
and I
are
liked how
you doing?
I really liked how you broke it down because you're kind of like, it's us against them. It's us against the market. I too feel, based on what you've done in the kitchen, how you resurfaced the pool, the casita that you added, I feel like this should go at what we're asking for. But when we look at the data and then we look at the hard facts, it's really hard to argue with the facts. And so we can be for sale or we can be sold. And I think if we want to be sold, then we have to go into the current of where the market is moving. And that's an easier conversation when you've got charts and pie graphs and shit. It's like, awesome.
Well, and then you have a report here that also shows like, look, I know the home's sitting, but these are all the things that I'm doing. Everything based off the feedback from the open houses that I've done, based off the feedback from the other agents that I've talked to in this area. This is what the market's showing
And you're
us.
busting your ass. It's hard for them to get mad at you silently or verbally if you're consistently every Monday, let's say, you send out this report and they see that how you push it out on social. They see that you hit 3 different caravans in the region for it. They see that you called 17 agents that have buyers in the region that are active. They see the work. And for them to point the finger and say, you're just not doing enough, right? Well, I mean, let's look at the last report.
Let's look at based off the data
Right.
of what I've been doing.
Yeah, and then
putting in work.
I've been wearing down shoe leather trying to get this thing in front of as many people as I can. So I mean, that's just a good strategy.
Yeah, real quick, if you've listened to this song, something else I heard that was really good. I think maybe you said it, maybe I said it. Somebody said it and it was really good. But calling a listing agent that just sold in that area recently, like if it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, right before, and calling them and say, hey, who else can I reach out to? What other agents
Who
did you
didn't get
offer?
this
Yeah,
one?
who didn't get this?
I think we share a brain, so we came up with
We
that.
collectively came up
She
with that.
hogs it all the time.
But
Like-
I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good. Like
Yeah.
calling other agents that have the listings in the area that just sold, they're going to know other offers or they're going to
Yeah.
have other conversations they've had with other people. So ask them, hey, who else didn't get this home? Because I'm working for my sellers right now. So I'm going to reach out to who didn't get this home and see if I can get them into my home.
I mean, it's a little bit of work, but man, that's a very fertile ground for potentially finding a buyer. And maybe just take the agent out for tacos, or like say, hey, I would do the same for you on my listing in the
Yeah.
future. But if you can give me a couple names, oh yeah, Sally at Coldwell Banker, and then so and so at EXP.
I mean, I would hope agents would want to share that information.
Yeah, but if you got to buy him a beer, is it worth it? Heck yeah, right?
Yeah.
And then go to your own listing that isn't selling and look at the reverse prospecting list of who has it on views and who has it on their searches and who's, stopped by and shown it, and just call those guys. I mean, so many of us just don't follow up and do the basics,
Yeah.
loan officers, lending institutions. It blew my mind a couple of weeks ago. We've been talking about it ever since. Credit unions. How many borrowers do they have pre-qualified that are their members? So there's innate trust built in with that membership. Go talk to those loan officers that are in the area of your listing and say, hey, who's looking? Who can I talk to about this thing? Here's the flyer.
Yeah.
Here's the link. Here's a QR code. Please tell your borrowers about this because it's a bitchin' listing.
Yeah. No, I think right now we are going into a market where like there is a little bit of, dare I say it, work. That has to be done. No, I'm totally just kidding. We understand.
You can't use 4-letter words on this podcast, Haley.
No, but it is. I mean, we're getting into the part now where like it takes a little bit longer to sell the listings, where, you know, listing agents are going to have to put in some work right now, and we're there to support and we're there to help come up with these ideas and how.
Hit us up. This is all we're thinking about right now.
Yeah, because this is all we're thinking about right now, and how we can help our listing agents get those homes sold. And, you know, a lot of us rely on the MLS and rely on other agents, but we want to help our agents right now be proactive and getting after it. And hopefully maybe they can double in something and they get the buyers in, and they're still getting the best deal for the buyer because that buyer really wants that house, and they're still getting the best deal for their sellers because their seller really wants to sell the house.
Well, and I love it because, look, in this environment, price reduction or price improvement scripts and conversations are going to be happening more and more. Agreed? So when you've got the backup of the report you've been putting out, say you're 6 weeks in and there's 6 reports with delineating exactly what you've done action-wise to get that out, and you've got the data of where the stream of the market is actually moving, it's really hard to argue with that if you're a seller. And then emotion aside, if we can examine the facts and then put it on them, say, what do you think this data is telling us to do? Well, a logical person would see that maybe we got to move the price into the stream of the market.
I would say so.
Right?
I would say so.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not an awkward, uncomfortable conversation. It's like when we call people with a gnarly title issue the day of closing, and there's a $55,000 tax lien that only showed up on the SI, but we didn't get the SI from escrow until the day of closing because that's when they sent the docs. And we're like, so we got to talk. You know, it's like the call into the principal's office.
Or when the county pulls a recording on Friday at 5 o'clock because the person that was doing it just decided they didn't like the date or something the way it looked. Who knows? You know, there's all sorts of things.
Yeah, but we have prep that we've done. We have experiential knowledge, and we have availability to get out in front of it and remedy the situations quickly. So it makes those conversations easier for us to have, just like having the reduction conversation would be easier if you've had reports for the 7 weeks prior. You've demonstrable results. You've got some irons in the fire. You've got buyers like kicking the tires on it, and you've got the data. Easier conversation than going in cold and saying, hey, so yeah, we got to reduce. It's obvious. Like, well, why is it obvious?
Yeah. That's why they're going to be upset. They're going to be mad and be like, oh, my agent doesn't do anything. All he says is we need to price reduce.
Yeah, because you didn't give them an alternative narrative. Yeah. So they have to, they ain't blaming themselves, right? Because their house is fabulous. Oh, it's the best thing on the market.
Absolutely not blaming themselves.
So who are they going to blame? You. So arm yourself, and that's a really good strategy.
Yeah, so we are, like Brian said, we are thinking of these strategies right now. We're kind of getting really creative. We are trying to help our agents as much as possible right now with the listing time sitting a little bit longer, and how we can navigate. Always a change in real estate, right? I mean, we talk about it all the time. The only constant is change in our industry.
Exactly.
So we're going through another little bit of a change. But you guys, we've already made it through 100% of our hardest days. We've already made it through some tough-ass cycles. So thank you, Katie, for that line. But we've already made it through some really tough cycles. So I think it's just another cycle. We'll get through it, and guess what? There's going to be another cycle that's going to change things. Interest rates might drop again, and then prices go all skyrocket again, and we see a whole other 2020 happen again.
Yeah.
Who knows? My crystal ball is murky.
Well, but we can do Friday things on Friday, and we can get through today, and then make it to the pillow, and worry about tomorrow, right? And just commit to the process. And you know, us, we're in sales, so we're always thinking. I get a couple of listings under my belt with this "Don't Fire Me" report, or just this communication style of every Monday I send out what I'm doing, the activities, the results. I take that into a listing presentation. You think that puts that seller at ease? You think that sets me apart from the other guy that came in before me? Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah, because most salespeople, not just realtors or title people, just humans, we don't have systems falling out of our ears, right? So now you have a system that separates you, and that you're going to put them at ease before they even hired you, that they're going to get a report. They're going to see how many hearts on Redfin and all the things and all the people you're calling and doing. That is really comforting.
Yeah.
And people love security. People love that feeling of security.
Well, that's a little different than, coming in and saying we're the best thing since sliced bread, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm a top producer. Don't worry, I got it covered.
And now you're talking to them about how you're going to help them sell their home, right? And that's the thing. We got to make it about them and how we're helping them. Yeah. Just like how we help our agents. We don't talk much about title. We do it. What are their struggles? What are they going through? How can we help with that? Not item number 9 on the prelim, which right now, though, we're dealing with an item number 9 on the prelim, and we are coming up with solutions.
Well, we hear from agents we'd like to hear about the title stuff, and there's something new every day or every week. So That's why we bring that stuff to you. But that was really a good podcast.
Yeah,
a little
nice
good
little-
video blog.
nice
I don't know
little
what this is.
Friday. Yeah, I don't know what this necessarily is, but it's something we do.
Yes.
Until next time, until
Okay.
next Friday.
All right, I'm Ryan.
I'm Haley. Bye.
Bye.